The U.S. President Donald Trump has confirmed that he secretly switched planes after the NATO summit in Turkey last month following a possible Iranian threat. Donald Trump said that the Secret Service and the military instructed him to use a different aircraft, adding that he simply followed their orders. The dramatic switch reportedly came after U.S. intelligence detected a credible threat that Iran could target the president's plane. Reports said that intelligence also identified a person near the NATO summit who was allegedly seen with a shoulder-fired missile. Now, Donald Trump had initially boarded Air Force One in front of television cameras on 8th July, but he was then secretly moved through a catering truck to a smaller military aircraft, a C-32A, while journalists and some White House staff remained on the original plane. Donald Trump said that the replacement aircraft may have actually been at greater risk because it could have been the more likely target. The revelation has raised questions over the safety of those left aboard the Decoy aircraft, including senior officials and members of the media. Trump said that he faces threats constantly and reiterated that Iran considers him a major target. The White House has not publicly detailed the nature of the alleged threat or how the decision to switch aircraft was made.
Only up to Secret Service. I just follow what they'd like to do. So I go by Secret Service and the military. They wanted me to go on a different flight, a different plane, equal safety, but they wanted me to do it, so I do it. I do what they say.
And to discuss this further, I'm joined by retired Major General Sudhakar Ji, who's a defense and a geopolitical expert. Major General Sudhakar Ji, good evening, and thank you for taking your time and joining me over here at News 9. I want to begin by asking is that the story that we are playing out right now, this last-minute aircraft switching, is it part of a standard POTUS security protocol, and what must have been the degree of the threat perception to the president's life that a last-minute switch like this was done?
Good afternoon, Samia, for inviting me for your show. And two parts in your question. First part, is it a standard format? Answer is no. These are not standard formats. Standard formats are standard formats. This is a contingency planning. Contingencies, you have contingency A, B, C, D. In such kind of contingencies, anything is possible, and at extreme short notice, the opportunity is given to the lead agency, lead intelligence agency, to decide what best can be done to ensure safety and security of the president. In the instant case, my take on the whole issue is that they had not planned for a contingency for a standard format of this kind. The standard format did not actually cater for a contingency like this. This is an extraordinary contingency where the threat to me comes to the second part of your question. How imminent or how intense was the threat? The threat was of extreme intensity and was quite dangerous, and therefore my assessment indicates that although a lot of open sources are saying that this may have been a gimmick in matters of life and death of President of USA, there are no gimmicks. Even if it is a gimmick, it is taken as part of the security plan, and he has to move from plan A to plan B, call it under any name, but as far as the military parlance is concerned, it is contingency to the masters or the standard format of any kind of plan that would be existing to ensure safety and security. Back to you, Samir.
But Major General Sudhakar Ji, I get your point over there, but has there been any other instances like this where the president had to make a last-minute switch like this? What were the circumstances, if you know of anything that you can share with us?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, if I respect my memory, out of the attempts, although Fox News has often come out in their media platform that there have been more than 20 serious threat or assassination attempts on Donald Trump. And the notable ones are, first one is the 13th of July 2024, Butler, Pennsylvania. and where I think, if I remember again correctly, one bullet pierced through his ear during the election campaigning. And the second one was September 15, 2024, in the West Palm Beach, Florida International Golf Club. There's a guy who was lying dogo in the bush with a gun in his hand. And third was the 25th of April, 2026, in DC, Washington, in the Hilton
But Major
Hotel.
General Sudhakarji, sorry to cut you out. I was asking you, has there been any precedences where the president had to make this last-minute switch as far as the aircraft is concerned? Because that is going to be leading it to my next question about the decoy doctrine. Of course, it's all been done to create ambiguity. That's my question to you. And how do you look at this? Because this operational deception, where several staffers of the White House and the media contingent were left on the original plane, do they not demand protection? Do they not demand safety that should be guaranteed by the president? Because there is a contingent of media that does travel with the POTUS.
Yes, I was coming to this part of the issue. You see, before I come to the scenario which you have painted, I just wanted to rule out in any of the attempts which have been made against Donald Trump, those 20 of them, there has never been a case like this in the past. This is the first time it has happened. Now, coming to the second part of your question in this series of questions that you're asking, is that yes, there is a point when you say that if the journalists could be there in the Air Force One aircraft, the Qatari aircraft, then isn't their life in danger? The issue is not anybody's life. Issue is about the President of United States of America. That is of paramount importance. But the hidden point behind your question is the life of President of United States is so important that the safety and the security of other passengers in the previous aircraft could be left unattended. Well, here is the punchline that you have actually hit. It is not so. It could have been a kind of a mock drill, kind of a rehearsal. It could have been anything other than that a layman can think of. But my take on the whole issue is that it was none of those. It was one of the threats which was definitely imminent. And the president, otherwise, why should a president move in a catering car, which one was standing in front of the aircraft, ahead of the aircraft, one was behind? What was so urgent? He could have been moved by some other means. So this makes me to believe and be convinced about the fact that there was a kind of a serious threat. It happened abruptly, without any kind of indications prior to the incident, and it happened extremely at a short notice. Back to you, Samia.
I get your point, Major General Sudhakarji, that this must have been a last-minute call taken by the premium security agency entrusted with the president's safety. But I want to ask you, is there no safety protocol or an SOP for the staffers and the official? Are they going to be seen as a collateral in a bid to keep the safety of the president intact?
Yes, there are protocols, but despite, you see, what happens in military is that you plan for A, B, C options. And in the A, B, C options, you always cater for some unforeseen eventualities. We call them as contingency 1, contingency 2, contingency 3. So my take or my response to this particular scenario is that neither the standard format options nor the contingency they had planned had catered for a threat of this kind, which compelled them to, they were not prepared for an eventuality like this. Hence, they had to take some kind of a abrupt response matrix in order to ensure safety of the president. There was no time to apply themselves to prevent any kind of collateral damage, and they perhaps had not thought through these kind of contingencies arising, which actually arose on that particular day at the time of departure.
Okay, point taken, Major General Sudhakarji. Thank you for taking your time and joining me over here and providing your insight on the story that was our primary focus at the Global Lens.
Thank you.